Hello and welcome to the Talking Food with Bid Food podcast. I'm Joe Anglis, and this is the second of our two-part episode on the journey to net zero. In part one, we had Julie Oust, our Head of Sustainability and Change. She was talking about the huge amount of work she's done to support customers and build our environmental, social and governance policy. For this part, we'll be joined by Anne Simonnet, who is the Head of Sustainability and Compliance at Foodbuy. Together with Compass, they do a huge amount to support their clients with their journeys to hit targets and reduce their emissions. So without any further delay, let's bring Anne onto the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Anne.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
It's great to have you. So before we talk about the topic for the episode, please can you introduce yourself and provide a bit of a background on your experience in sustainability?
Sure. So I'm Anne Simonnet, currently Head of Sustainability and Compliance at Foodbuy, which is part of the Compass Group, the procurement side of Compass. And previously to this role, which I've been holding for about just over a year now, I was Head of Food. So I'd like to think, fairly good understanding of the procurement side and the purchasing side, and ultimately how to work with supplier on achieving net zero.
That's great. So on the subject for today, where we're looking at the journey to net zero, so why do you think that businesses should be focused on reducing their carbon right now?
Well, not only because it's obviously the right thing to do, but I guess there is definitely a level of scrutiny now, not only from a lot of companies, but ultimately the end customer of all things sustainable, to be fair. It's not just about carbon reduction, but I think the focus of the people for the past few years has been quite exponential when it comes to sustainability. Then you had the Paris Treaty that some people might be aware of, but most definitely for us in the UK, COP26 happening last year in Glasgow has definitely put carbon reduction on the agenda.
That's great. So where does climate change and sustainability, or ESG, sit within Foodbuy's own vision, strategy and proposition to clients? And what are Foodbuy hoping to achieve themselves from this?
We're definitely industry leaders in food service. We've made a commitment to be net zero by 2030. And when I say we, I say Compass, UK and Ireland. Where it is important for Foodbuy to support this, basically Foodbuy represents over 80% of the emission looking after the supply chain for Compass, UK and Ireland. So of course, very, very high on the agenda. I think one of the statements of the importance is the fact that they created a sustainability function within Foodbuy to specifically look after that. So very high for our clients, but almost I want to say as important when it comes to our relationship with our suppliers, and be the link very much within that whole food system on supporting this.
What kind of challenges have Foodbuy faced or Compass faced so far on the journey to net zero? Is data a specific issue, for example?
Data is definitely an issue. It's an issue for us to really gather the appropriate data. It definitely is a challenge for our suppliers. And again, bearing in mind that we look after 80% of the emission for Compass, and 80% will be that's scope 3 that sits with our supply chain. Getting the data from our supplier is also challenging, because it is challenging to our suppliers. So we know that within the old food service industry currently, there is still an humongous work to be done on data. Data are on the LCA's life cycle assessment to get a bit of consistency, but also to start creating those LCAs so they can be used appropriately.
That's great, thank you. And what have Foodbuy learned from measuring their baseline and the process of setting targets?
What we've learned is business is not on a straight line. So what we've learned is we've done our baseline on FY19, but our business has changed dramatically since. We've lost some clients, we've gained some clients. We've had also reported our emission on spend, and there is quite a lot of work to be done now because of the inflation that we're facing for the past 12 to 18 months. we can see some very, very positive results and definitely on the way we've engineered our menus. So ultimately what we've learned is, and I don't mean to oversimplify, but definitely the less meat and dairy you purchase, massive easy impact ultimately when you start reporting your new set of results.
And what areas initiatives are you focusing on, and why have you chosen those areas?
So going back to the meat, absolutely an element of not only we need to purchase better meat, and better meat, I would say, we're very good in Compass and Foodbuy to already purchase a vast majority of our meat from the UK. However, there is certainly practices and some work to be done with our supplier. That's at purchasing level. However, as I just said, engineering of the menu is absolutely key, and moving to more plant-based protein items is definitely a focus for us. The second one will be around regenerative agriculture. We're really allocating the right amount of focus, I think, on really purchasing that meat, but also the dairy, which is the second hotspot for us, the second highest emitter of carbon. And lastly, the vegetable. All of those three big categories for us, big emission category to come from regenerative practices.
And have you worked with any sort of external partners on the process, or learned anything from other businesses that you're looking to take into best practice?
We are using a third-party company to really walk us through this whole process around targeting our emission, submitting our SBTIs, and so on. So absolutely, we realize that we need some expertise and are very much using it when it comes to that very technicality of net zero, again, or carbon analysis and reporting. We're also, when it comes to regenerative agriculture, which, as I said, is a very important focus for us, we are working together with the Soil Association Exchange, which is built to very much have all the leaders of the food industry, food service around a table and define what is regenerative agriculture. There is not yet a definition, and we also need to be consistent. We were talking about value chain. How do we engage with our farmers for better practices? So definitely a second, third-party council that has been that has proved to be very, very helpful, very useful.
Welcome back. So, Anne, can you share where Foodbuy are on their journey right now and what kind of progress you've made so far?
So we've really announced Compass. When I say we, again, Compass UK and Ireland, has really communicated last March 2021 the roadmap to net zero. And again, reminding everybody that 80% will be sitting with the supply chain. So where are we at? We've made a number of dents. First of all, what we've done is we completely reviewed the way we're purchasing and really having not just net zero, but again, the whole sustainability agenda at the forefront of how we purchase, all the way from the RFI, request for information, for the one that are familiar to a tendering process, at that very beginning of engaging with the supplier, asking the right questions. When it is to net zero, trying to understand where the suppliers or prospective suppliers have already mapped their emissions, scope 1, 2, and hopefully 3. Are they aware of the SBTIs? What are also, again, because we should not just be focusing on carbon emission, what are the other good examples of sustainability initiatives they took? So very much all the way, as I said, all the way of the tendering process, we then engage on non-commercial presentation with our suppliers to really start getting more granular information on their own net zero initiatives. and wider, again, sustainability strategy, basically. And then sustainability is a high scoring on how we would recruit our suppliers. So I would say this is the main thing that really Foodbuy has done is reviewing, and that's quite a bit of a piece of work, but reviewing how we engage with supplier incumbent, and as I say, doing a tender. And then there is a number of very positive things we've done in terms of raising the bar and raising the standard of some of the products we purchased. So some example there on how we raised the bar is definitely purchasing more local product, working together with all of the 6 sectors of Compass to really understand seasonality and locality when it comes to produce. Another big element for us around biodiversity. We are removing, for the people in the room, aware of the MCS rating, which is very much a scale on how endangered some species are. We've removed number 4 and number 5, which are very much red on the list. So an important piece of work from Foodbuy and the whole of Compass to just really only purchase fish that are deemed to be renewed enough and sustainable enough. We've also banned air-freighted product, which was quite complex on some lines, but ultimately we've managed to do that, and we can see quite a positive impact. So there's many other initiatives that maybe on another time I'll be able to go a bit more in detail.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. That's so interesting to hear, and it's really great to hear as well. In terms of supporting your clients, have you got any examples of when you successfully helped clients reduce their emissions?
Well, I think our clients directly benefit from all the work we do. So when we purchase better our fish, when we purchase better our tin tuna, when we purchase better eggs by only moving to cage-free eggs, our clients benefit from it, because they're ultimately working with Foodbuy will benefit from having those usually hard to find or costly premium products at a better cost, simply because they will benefit from working with us and all the work we've done on this product. So I think all the work that Foodbuy does is ultimately a direct impact to the client.
Absolutely, that's great. So my next question is, if a customer or a client comes up to you and says they're looking to start their own journey towards net zero, where would you recommend that they start?
Well, they need to start looking at their emissions. They need to start looking at their data. They need to start looking basically at their purchasing mix and understanding what it is that they purchase, how could they purchase it better. But it is quite important now to really publish emissions. I would advise that it's done on volumes rather than spend, definitely. But it starts with just understanding what you purchase, from who, from where. And then make a plan. With that, again, I don't mean to oversimplify, but look at your fresh meat, look at your dairy, and already the right level of scrutiny around those 2 categories would already have a huge impact.
That's brilliant. That was my last question there. So thank you so much for sharing some brilliant advice there, Anne.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
I really enjoyed hearing from Anne there. She has a huge amount of experience, and Foodbuy have already made fantastic steps in their own journey to net zero, which is brilliant to see. As a result, I'm hoping this conversation has helped to inspire you with your own journey. If you're keen to learn more, we have a huge amount of resources available, including more podcast episodes and our new ESG strategy. You can find links to all of this in our show notes. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you give us a follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, so you can be the first to hear our latest episodes. Thank you for listening, and until next time, goodbye.